Welcome to episode 44 of Your Mindset Matters. And before this episode, and what I have been doing lately with my episodes is tuning in and asking the question of what do people need right now? The people who listen to my podcast and the people that I can help, what do they need right now? So when I mean tune in, I tune in with myself, I listen to my intuition, the guidance from the universe, God, creator, however you want to call it, but I usually say creator. And I got a download to talk to you about today about being too hard on yourself and how you can start to be kinder to yourself. So someone out there right now, they're going to be like, this episode is for me, and I'm glad I'm here for you, and I'm glad that I can help, because being too hard on yourself is something that we all do. Okay, let's be honest. At times in our life, we can always be sometimes too hard on ourselves. And it's about learning to come out of that. It's about learning to be kind to yourself and learning to be there for yourself, okay? Because if we look at it in life, who are you always there for? Okay, this could be your partner, your friend, your family member, someone at work, someone even online, right? Like, I love online spaces because I have made such amazing connections with people. And the best part is about this is who you're being, you attract your tribe, okay? So now I have stepped into that version of me who I can say I'm happy with, right? Yes, life is a journey. The relationship with yourself is always a journey. And for me, and how I view it is, it's a lifelong journey, because obviously you're growing and you're learning and becoming and trying new things, right? So we're always growing, so it's always a journey. But what I love about that is I have created a space where I am showing up as me, so I'm attracting the people for me. And I have made so many great connections on there who vibe with me, right? I've been able to understand myself deeper and also learn from others because I've shown up as myself. But years ago, I never had the confidence to show up as myself because I was very hard on myself and I wasn't really kind to myself. And what it's about in life and what I've learned throughout my journey is it's so important to be kind to yourself. So just like you would be kind to that person that came to your mind when I asked you that question, it's important to add yourself to that. It's important to be kind to yourself as well. And sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. Sometimes our brain, especially my own, because I think a lot of thoughts, okay? I will just be like in a place and Harry will be like, are you okay? And I'm like, well, I'm just thinking about this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And he's like, why are you thinking about all of that? Okay, it's just the way my brain works, and I am learning, and currently on my journey, I'm learning to stop thinking so many thoughts, okay? Like, honestly, the list on Sunday when he asked me, he was like, whoa, like, that is a lot. Why are you even thinking about that? Okay? And because I have a lot of thoughts sometimes, I can tend to be hard on myself, okay? And even right then, I could be hard on myself right now and say, oh, it's because you think too much. Oh, this causes this causes that. And beat myself up, basically, because I think so much. But what if you changed that into a different story? What if you chose to see a different perspective? So, for example, with that, of me thinking too many thoughts, what if it's a good thing? Because actually I'm prepared. I'm actually thinking of new things and ways, and thinking about a lot is actually to my benefit. Okay, because yeah, if we look at anything, we can choose to see how we see it. We get to choose how it plays out by how we think about it, by how we feel about it. Okay, and what I mean by this is the story that you're telling yourself in your mind and already thinking that's going to happen tends to normally happen, okay? And it's about being in that and choosing the story which serves you, choosing this perspective that serves you. One can be where we're being really hard on ourselves, but one can also be the opposite, okay? Being kind to ourselves. There is a universal law called the law of opposites, right? So for example, if something goes really good, it can also go really bad. But we get to decide. And it's normally by our perspective, okay, how we choose to see things. And it has actually been shown in like quantum physics with light. When light has been observed going through a straight line, and when it's not being observed, it produces different shadows. It produces different results because of that eye, and that somebody watching it and being observed changes it. And you can change your outcome by changing the way that you see things, by changing your perspective on it and the story that you're ultimately telling yourself about it, okay? And this relates to so much because we have a choice. In our lives, we get to have a choice. And I know sometimes it doesn't feel like you have a choice. And them times are sometimes when we're being too hard on ourselves, okay? When we may be constantly putting ourselves down. But wouldn't you like to be kinder to yourself in life? How do you feel? Connect into, how do you feel when you're being too hard on yourself? When you're not being kind to yourself? When you're beating yourself up? Okay? And this may be a little bit, so it may be just a thought of like, of course you can't do that. Why would you even try? You're so stupid. You're so this. Right? Could be just little thoughts like that. Or it could be more thoughts. Or it could be where we're constantly hard on ourselves, constantly beating ourselves up, okay? Because everyone is probably going to be hard on themselves a little bit in their life. So look in your life right now, how hard are you being on yourself, right? How often are you being hard on yourself? Is it just a little, or is it a lot of the time? Because if it's a lot of the time, we want to shift that. We want to shift that perspective, change the story, and choose to be kind to ourselves, okay? Because we do have a choice, but sometimes we may feel like we don't. And that's just a lie we're telling ourselves to ultimately keep us safe or use it as an excuse, okay? But it's about looking at where are you being hard on yourself in your life and how, okay? Normally I'd say the how is not your job, but in this scenario, how are you being hard on yourself? Is it just with your thoughts? Is it you actually stopping yourself for doing things in your life? Are you keeping yourself small? Are you settling because you're being hard on yourself? Okay, where are you constantly putting yourself down? Because why I'm asking you to look at your life and asking you these questions is because if we don't have self-awareness, nothing is going to change. If you cannot choose to see it in your life and actually be honest with yourself about it, nothing's going to change, right? Because you can put the rose tinted glasses on, you can tell yourself as many lies as you like about how you're thinking, how you're feeling, how life is right now, but ultimately it's just that, it's lies, it's not the truth. And it's not going to produce or create what it is that you want or allow you to be who you're here to be, okay? Because for example, if someone asks, or you ask yourself right now, am I hard on myself? No, but constantly during the day, you're beating yourself up, right? You're not going to think there's a problem, so you're not going to create the changes in your life, and you're going to keep having the same outcome, feeling the same, right? And not go anywhere in your life in that aspect, okay? Because of that, beating yourself up, being hard on yourself, but you're actually telling yourself you don't, and it's absolutely fine, so you don't think there's a problem. So with today's podcast, get honest with yourself, okay? I am hard on myself at points, right? I can be hard on myself because a lot of the time I know the answer to things, okay? And I won't actually say the answer because I have a fear of getting it wrong. I'm like, of course you won't know the answer. No way are you going to know the answer. So I don't say it. They say the answer and I'm like, I knew it. And then I'm that person that looks like, oh, she didn't know it, she's just saying she knew it, when I generally did, okay? But that's not helping me move forward, okay? It's about being honest with yourself on how you're truly treating yourself right now and how we can choose to shift that, change that, and learn to accept ourselves. So going back to self-awareness, how I said about self-awareness and how that nothing will change unless you have self-awareness. What self-awareness is basically having the awareness of yourself, being able to understand yourself, being able to know how you're truly feeling, what caused it, be able to take responsibility for who you are, okay? And when I mean take responsibility for who you are, it's basically being honest with yourself and like, okay, I actually did that, right? So bring it back to school. You've just kicked someone, for example, and the teacher's like, who did that? You can either lie or you can take responsibility in that moment and own up to it. And that's what self-responsibility is about, is owning up to things. And I'm not saying you have to go and tell everyone, right? You have to go and confess to your family like, I actually think this, I actually do this. I'm on about with yourself. For me, it's all about the journey with yourself and the relationship with yourself, and about being honest with yourself. Where in your life right now are you being hard on yourself? Because once we identify that and have the awareness of that, we can then start to create the shifts, and we can start to change that and to create a new story, okay? Because in our lives and ourselves, there are things that we love about ourselves, which is amazing. We want more of that, okay? We want more of that love, that confidence, that worthiness, all of them feelings. But there are also things about ourselves that we don't like, okay? And they're the things, for example, if they're especially not serving you or benefiting you, they're the things that we want to change. So it's about taking that, and how I do it is taking a physical step back in my mind, right? So I'm no longer in my body. I just view myself like a bird viewing me, or someone in the corner viewing me, right? And being honest with myself that way, of going, so where am I truly hard on myself? And even in the moment, like, how am I communicating to myself? What am I thinking about myself? What am I saying to myself? And what am I feeling? Okay? Because what's really, really important and going to help you with this, to give you that self-awareness about yourself, is giving yourself that space and giving yourself that time to listen to your true self. Listen to what you're truly thinking, what you're truly feeling, and what you're truly saying to yourself. Okay? Because like I said earlier, we can lie. We can lie and go, no, I'm really kind to myself. Like, I'm really confident. I feel amazing about myself, right? Great if that's true. Absolutely amazing if that's true. But if it's not, you're only lying to yourself, right? That saying, cheaters never prosper. You're only cheating yourself. You're only lying to yourself. And it's about being honest with yourself and creating that space and that time to do that. Because that creates that way for you to truly have that bird's eye view on how you're truly communicating with yourself, how you're truly thinking about yourself, what you're truly feeling about yourself, and things in your life. Because when you do that, it's giving you that awareness, okay? Awareness of yourself, awareness of who you are and where you are currently. Because when you've got that, you can then look at where you're going. You can then look at who it is you're here to be, who it is that you truly are, and ask yourself, is this serving me right now? Because being hard on yourself is not serving you right now, okay? Because you just being born and put on this earth, you were born worthy, you were born good enough, right? But what can happen is our childhood that we've gone through, all the different experiences, environment, people, opinions, all of that, we were a sponge as a child and we've taken on a lot of things. So you've been born, right, 1 day old, you're worthy and you're good enough, but you have may have gone through a childhood or gone through an experience, or someone told you that you, for example, aren't good at something, aren't worthy, or this, or that, and you've took that on, right? And then automatically what you're going to be doing is being hard on yourself about that thing because you took it from that. You felt something in that moment, you then thought something about it, and you took that story on and you repeat saying things to yourself about it, okay? And what it's about is identifying that, having that awareness of that. So where are you being hard on yourself? Because what you might find is that things are repeating. It might be the same thing where you, for example, me, if someone asks me a question, right, I know the answer, but am I actually going to say it? Okay, that is for me something that's repeating at the minute But I have that awareness of that. So next time someone asks me a question, I'm just going to have a go. And it starts by the little steps, okay? So with whatever you're being hard on yourself, I'm not asking you to take a massive leap, right? So for example, if someone said, you should never speak in front of people, right? So here's one for you that relates exactly to that. When I was younger, I used to get called squeaky, okay? You may think I have a higher voice, and that's absolutely fine. But when I was growing up, I got called squeaky by people in my peer group, people I called friends at the time, and it really knocked my confidence. It really got to me to the point where I actually even Googled how to change your voice, right? Like how to change a voice box, because I felt so insecure about it. And okay, that was them being hard on me. But what I chose to do in that moment was take all of that on, to the point where I started being hard on myself about it. So when, for example, boys would talk to me or someone new would talk to me, I felt embarrassed to even open my mouth, because I was like, they're just going to think I'm squeaky. I'm really squeaky. My voice is really squeaky. And I even started apologising for it. I even started apologising, like, or saying it first, where I was like, I know my voice is really squeaky. You don't have to say anything, right? And that wasn't serving me. And especially for the fact that it took me so long to do certain things. For example, go live on Facebook, go live on Instagram, call people, start this podcast, right? Because in the back of my mind right now, I could be thinking, who's going to listen to me, or why they're listening to this podcast? They're going to be thinking, oh, just squeaky, squeaky, squeaky voice, right? And now I've probably put it in your head, and to be honest, I don't care, because I have done the work on that. I first of all looked at where I was being hard on myself and how it was stopping me in life, right? Because if I allowed myself to continue to be hard on myself and say, oh, why should you do a podcast? You've got a squeaky voice. It's going to be holding me back. It's going to be keeping me small and not benefiting me at all. So that story went, okay? And how I did it was taking a step back and saying, where am I being hard on myself right now? And I kept repeating it in different scenarios. And I was like, this is something that I'm being hard on myself, and this is a story I get to change. This is a story that is not serving me. It doesn't feel good. And there's things in life I want to do which involve my voice. So I get to get over it. I get to do the work on that story and heal myself and release it to learn to feel good by being kind to myself, right? Also moving peer group, but also I took on them stories so they were with me. So for example, that's something through childhood made me think that. And I remembered and realised that I have a choice, and that I can't really blame them people, because I allowed myself to listen to it, because two people could have gone through that same scenario. One was me and took it on, felt really embarrassed, was hard on herself, but another person could have gone through that situation and not allowed it to affect them. So that's why I say I can't go back and blame them, because I took that on. I allowed myself to take on them thoughts and feelings, and I allowed myself to be hard on myself, right? That's self-responsibility. Look at what we're allowing into our lives, because self-responsibility isn't this thing of like blame game to yourself. It's actually empowering, of going, okay, I allowed that. But if I allowed that, I can use the law of opposites and not allow it. I can choose something different. I have that power. And connecting you back with your inner power, because you get to choose your thoughts, your feelings, what you tell yourself, what you allow, and what you allow into your life, okay? And ultimately what you create. Because what we're thinking about ourselves, what we're feeling about ourselves, and the stories that we're saying to ourselves creates your reality. The relationship with yourself is the one that's most important. So where are you being hard on yourself? Where are you constantly putting yourself down? And can we start to choose something different? Can we start to be kind to ourselves? Where can you be kinder to yourself in your life right now? Right? Is there something that you want to go after? Is there a desire that you really wanted? Or anything that comes up to you right now in your mind, where are you being hard on yourself and stopping yourself from having that? Where are you keeping yourself small, right? Last year for me, another example was when I became a coach, right? When I became a self-discovery coach, when I became a theta healer, it was new. And I am going to do a whole podcast on comfort zones for you to dive in deeper into this. But it was new. So I started to be hard on myself, like I couldn't do it as good as my teacher. I couldn't do it as good as the lady who taught me theta. I couldn't be as good as them coaches. Being hard on myself, putting myself down. And what did that do? It allowed me for a year to keep myself in fear, keep myself in scarcity, and keep myself small. Did it serve me? No. Did it benefit me? No. Because like I said, the energy for 2023 is moving from that story, is moving beyond that and being kind to myself and allowing myself to see myself, right? And that's another thing with being kinder to yourself. Right now, you might be really being hard on yourself and only see this same repetitive story, right? Because you're putting a focus on it. But there's a beautiful story about you. There's a nice story about you. There's a kind story about you. There's the opposite story that you're telling yourself. Allow yourself to listen to that. And even on that, allow yourself to explore it. Because this is the thing, sometimes we're so stuck in our ways and so stuck on being hard on ourselves. For example, the way that we look, right? When you look in a mirror, you may just look at your weight, for example, and you're being really hard on yourself because you're not at your goal weight, right? You're telling yourself you're too big, you're not this needs to change, this needs to change, right? That's only one aspect of yourself, is your body. It's one aspect, right? So if you're looking at, for example, weight in that is definitely one aspect. There's other aspects of your body that you're missing. For example, I really like my eyes, right? Have you even looked at your eyes? Because what you may be doing is constantly doing the same thing over and over again. As soon as you look in the mirror, you look at your body, you're hard on yourself. Okay, getting out the mirror because I don't enjoy that, right? But for things to change, it's about changing the things that we're being, doing, saying and thinking. So next time that you look in the mirror, if that relates to you, find something that you like about yourself and start to put your focus onto that. Or even when you're being hard about yourself on the weight, tell a nice story. What would you say to your best friend? What would you say to that person that you thought of at the start of the episode? Your friend, your family, your partner, what would you say to them in that moment? Because I want you to say that back to you. So you're looking in that mirror, you're about to beat yourself up and you go, hold on. No, right? For example, if you're a new mum, you've just birthed a child, okay? Or for example, if you're not very well, right, I understand this is how it is right now because of da-da-da. Do you know what I mean? It's telling yourself that other story, allowing yourself to explore it, because sometimes we don't even do that. Sometimes we don't even allow ourselves to explore the niceness because we're being so hard on ourselves. We don't think we're allowed or worthy or good enough to even hear that, right? I used to have this where if things didn't work out in my life, I'd be like, oh, it's my fault. It's because I'm a bad person. Why am I a bad person? Oh, it's this and that. And I would beat myself up, telling myself that I'm such a bad person. For example, if I fell out with a friend, it'd instantly be my fault. I'm a bad friend. It's my fault. And start nitpicking and beating myself up until I started to actually look at things and go, no, this is nice about you. This is good about you. I started to be kinder to myself. I basically became my own friend, because if you look at it, the person right now that you have and the one person that you're going to have for the rest of your life and throughout your whole life is yourself. So why are you being so hard on them? Would you be that hard on the other people around you? And also, be kind to yourself, because there was once a little person who took on that belief, who took on that story, took on that thought or that feeling. And that little person needs some love, because inside of you is still that little person right now inside of you. And until we pass and go to the next place, you have something called your inner child within you. So that little version of you that learned that took on that belief of, for example, you're not good enough, you're not this, that I was squeaky, right? That little person's inside of you. So if you don't want to look at yourself and tell you that story, that kind of story, the opposite, the one that's going to make you feel good and create the change in your life, tell it to that younger version of you. Imagine telling it to yourself as that younger version, right? Picture them, even get a picture out. So for example, I heard this by Kendall Jenner, how she actually puts a photo of her younger self on her mirror. So if you are that person that's really hard on yourself when you look in the mirror, put a photo of your younger self on your mirror, because you're going to be talking to her, right? And they probably look really, really cute, really innocent, really sweet, and they are just enjoying life, because that's what I love about children. And for me, that's what they teach me, is to not care, to truly just be and play. Okay, because that's what we're actually meant to be. But for so many years, we've been conditioned, been told this, took on this, and got lost along the way. And for me, I'm going to be 26 in April, and I'm finding my way. For the past 6 years, I have been reconnecting with that, doing the work, doing the healings to get back to that. Okay, so put your photo on there, and when you're being hard on yourself, you're talking to that version of you. Right? You're talking to both of you. And start to be kind to yourself. How would you want someone else to have spoken to you at that age? Right? If you could have had that person that you really wanted in your life to show up, how would you have liked them to show up for you? And start showing up for yourself. Okay? Because we're constantly telling ourselves stories for our thoughts and our feelings. But we can choose different. Remember, we always have a choice, and it's about taking back your power, stepping into who you're here to be, and start to choose yourself. Start to choose to be kinder to yourself. And I hope this episode has helped you and allowed you to take a few nuggets from this. Always know that my inbox is always open for you. And if you would like to dive in deeper together with the relationship with yourself and step in with who you're here to be, your true self, then message me to work one-to-one, because I have shifted and changed my one-to-one to where we go on an intimate, basically a one-to-one journey together that is personalized and tailored to you. Because that's what I've always been drawn to, right? It's the one-to-one, it's the tailored to me, the personalized, because everybody's different. So I work with you on a one-to-one level to go into who you are and who you're here to be and who you want to be. Because when we look at the relationship with ourselves, when we look at who we are and how we see ourselves and all of that, we can then become that version, step into who's inside us. Because when you're being hard on yourself, there is that version of you who already has her desires, but she's waiting for you to step into her. So that's what we do together on a one-to-one tailored plan with calls and Voxer access. So message me for more information on that if you would like to. And if not, take the nuggets away from this episode and please share with someone who could benefit it. And I'll catch you in the next episode. Have an amazing week.